Now we move into the underdog portion of the day as we kind of work our way into the afternoon. I'm going chronologically through these games. And it's another rematch. Tulane and Ole Miss have already faced off this season. Um, and it was not great. Tulane got killed. But there's some different circumstances around this game. There's been so much off the field drama with Ole Miss especially, but Tulane's coach has taken another job at this point too. And it's the playoffs. Maybe the stakes are higher. Maybe for Ole Miss the lights will be brighter than expected, and they'll piss down their leg, which would be pretty fitting considering their name, as JP always calls them. But y'all's thoughts on this game as the spread is 17.5 in Ole Miss's favor.
Well, of the two group of five games, I guess you could argue maybe this one could be the closest. It certainly is from a spread perspective. 3 to 4 points, depending on the book you're looking at. I think this is going to be the least close of the two. I'm all for picking against Old Piss, and I'll pick Tulane to cover the spread. But I think they are going to really rally around Pete Golding, around those players, and because it's in a home environment, it's going to be that much easier to do so. Joel Klatt made a good point, which is one of his only good points of the month, because he's had some really, really awful ones, but he made a really good one, and it completely makes sense. There's something to creating a good game plan, but there's another thing to calling the right plays in the right moment. One of the things that makes me so good as a college football video gamer is calling the right plays in the right moment, saving plays for specific spots, being able to set up bigger plays in the second half, and in critical moments, deciding whether or not go for it. How do I use my timeouts here? What is my speed? And the only way you know how to do that and learn how to do that is reps. And Pete Golding and that staff, while they have had the reps under Kiffin, haven't had the reps where they are the ones making that decision. And I don't think it plays a factor in this game because they have a much better roster. They're at home. They have a lot of fire to play for, a lot of stick it to the man to play for. But it will matter down the road, and I think it matters in the second round. But let's say Tulane punches first. What if Tulane drives down the field and scores an opening touchdown? They did not do that in the first game. In the first game, Old Piss outscored Tulane 23-3 in the first half and 10-0 in the first quarter. If Tulane, for whatever reason, was able to punch first because they have a lot of fire to play with, and they just punch first, take a 7-0 lead, and then they force a 3-and-out. Does the air in that building change? I've seen the air in that building change in the one game I ever went there in an Egg Bowl where State was able to change the air of that building. It really felt like Old Piss should win that game in the pregame, and then suddenly we're in the second half and State has a lead and they're controlling the clock. What if that can happen for Tulane? I think if Tulane's pulling this one off, if you want to pull and pick them to win this game and have the upset, I think they have to win the first quarter. And then I think they have to just manage that clock and drain the clock. I think they've got to control the clock, run the football well. With Jake Retzlaff, who did not have a great day in the first game. In the first game, he was 5 for 17 for 56 yards. And he had 51 yards on the ground. I think if he has a better day throwing the football and running the football, they have a chance. But I think that's the only way Tulane pulls this off. I think you have to flip it on its head. I think you have to flip all the pressure towards Old Piss because they're going to come out playing with guns blazing, a ton of fire. And if you can flip it to, oh no, we could lose this game, now where the reps that they don't have is in those big moments, it could end up costing them a costly decision, a fake punt when you don't need to, something like that.
Yeah. The starting fast was the biggest point for me too, because everyone's going to be amped up, like you said, and if you don't start quick, the energy turns nervous very fast, and how does that affect the players? And you don't have your head coach, and no matter how much everyone tries to say Pete Golding was the real reason this team was so good, that's a farce. I don't believe it. He could do a good job, but I absolutely could see a world where this game gets close, people start clinching their butts, and Pete Golding doesn't necessarily, like you said, push the right buttons or know how to handle the emotion on the sideline in the way Lane Kiffin could have. So starting fast, I think, is a fantastic point for Ole Miss to not get upset, and then for Tulane to pull the upset. My question to y'all is, how many? I already said butt clinching. So how many butt clinching / disaster plays does Tulane need to have to pull this off in terms of like, pick from Trinidad Chambliss, or they fumble, or like Tulane rips off a huge touchdown run, or there's a bust coverage touchdown? Like, how many of those swings does Tulane need to win this game?
I think you need 4.
Sure.
4 or more is the number there. I think because with the spread 17.5, I think you need 4 points that flip that 17 points right there and get it to where it's neck and neck. I don't think anything less than that's going to be enough to turn it around. So I think you need 4.
Yeah, I think that's a good number. 3, but I'm on board to go with 4.
Yeah. Real quick, I don't have tons of X's and O's wise. Trinidad Chambliss killed Tulane last time. Had over 100 yards on the ground, was great through the air. And I don't necessarily know that. I feel pretty confident Tulane does not have the horses to stop that, but you have to find a way to slow that a little bit in some capacity, whether it is we just sell out to take away his legs and make him be a pocket passer, which he can do great at, but you got to find a way to limit him a little bit. And then you mentioned Jake Retzloff not having a good day, and they ran the ball pretty well, but your QB still can't go 5 for 17 in a road playoff game against Ole Miss and expect to win that game. He has to be better in some capacity. Anything else to add? Shall we pick it?
Let's pick it.
What do you got, Sanders?
Oh, man, I wish that I could pick Tulane, but I am going to have to go with Ole Miss here. I just don't see it happening. Sure. I do think that, unfortunately, Ole Miss is going to show up to play, and they did bring back some important pieces of the coaching staff to coach, which don't even get me started on that. That was just really odd that they wouldn't let Kiffin coach, but they were willing to bring back all the guys that were going to follow him to LSU. It's okay for them to coach. That's just all kinds of odd. But
I swear they just were like, oh, wait a second. We kind of need somebody to run the offense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, you can scurry back over for a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll go with Ole Miss to win. What was, how much did they win by last time? Was it
45-10?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable about them covering 17.5. It is really odd. I mean, I don't know that I'm sure that the sports books are not saying that that Lane Kiffin is worth 17.5 points. Do you think that's what that is in this number, or what's the thought there? I mean, it just feels odd for when you beat a team by 35 and you're playing in the same location. And then you, as Ole Miss, you go on to win all but one game, and that was a loss to the number 3 team in the country in Georgia. What are odds makers thinking there?
But it's not a 1-to-1 type correlation.
True,
in terms of it's early in the season. Like, for example, Florida State beat Alabama. The odds makers wouldn't go immediately make it the score of that game. You really only see 30-plus point spreads between the best of the Power 4 and maybe the worst of the Power 4, or I mean, like, the FBS, in terms of, like, if maybe Ohio State's playing Akron, you'd see like a 30-plus point spread, or like an FCS spread as it gets higher. But just typically, like, blowouts to the magnitude of 30-plus aren't that common. I'd be curious to see what the spread was last time, and so how much the spread rose from the last time they played to now.
I can't find it, but I'm pretty sure it was nearly the same. I'd say. Sure. Look, Tulane they're no pushover, and it's not like they've had a bad season. They beat the conference champion, ACC champ Duke. They beat and won at Memphis, and then they beat North Texas pretty handily in the American Championship game. They haven't played nobodies this year. Their only 2 outliers are arguably their 2 toughest games this year at Ole Miss in Oxford and then in the Alamo Dome against the Roadrunners, and no one wins in the Alamo Dome.
It's really hard to win the Alamo Dome for sure.
So this is not a pushover team by any means. I have heard that sports books would have said Lane Kiffin is worth roughly 6 points. That's the number that I've heard from a few people.
Yeah. Back on track. Do you want to give us your pick, JP?
I'm taking Tulane to cover. I'm not going to pick Ole Miss.
Roll wave. What do they say?
Cover. Roll wave is what they say. Give me the green wave to roll wave and cover the 17. I think this looks just like a typical Ole Miss game where it's like this should be a blowout, but it's not. And last year that was the Egg Bowl in Oxford. This year that was the Washington State game, if you remember. And look, Ole Miss has had all of 3 weeks to prepare for Tulane, and Tulane has played more recently, so they're more rested. But I don't have the confidence that they're just gonna. I don't think they'll blow Tulane out of the water. They can blow teams out of the water, but it's usually really bad teams like Georgia State earlier this year, or even last year's Georgia Southern team.
Yeah. Getting into my pick, there's just so much off the field crap with this game. It makes it a little hard to pick, which I'm not someone that always buys in off the field stuff, but when it's of this magnitude, like it definitely impacts either positively or negatively. I have a dream or like a vision about this game, and not like a seer vision. It's a dream. Like this is what I hope happens, and it's that Ole Miss has been this team of pity in the media's eyes, and like, oh, we need to console them. They're the victims. And so now they're in this spot where they've been pumped up. The emotions are all on their side. Everyone's kind of backing them, or a lot of people are backing them. Oh, you've beat this team before. Now you get to host a home playoff game. And they get all this pity and all this kind of potentially undeserved favor in some ways in my eyes. And the football gods just kind of strike them down at home and kind of a comeuppance for getting all this this favor and charity. And Tulane pulls off a stunner in Vaught Hemingway Stadium, I believe is the name of that.
Yeah.
Texas high school equivalent stadium, probably.
Worse,
sure. So I'm not going to pick the Tulane upset outright, but I will take Tulane to cover and have this game get a little weird in some capacity. And I pray it does. I truly do. Roll wave.
They have a cool light show.
They do have a cool light show.
You'd expect Ole Miss to have a cool light show. The off the field product there is probably typically a lot better than the on the field product. These past couple years, notwithstanding. Mm-hmm. It's like with basketball. They have a Canes. Don't they have a Canes in there? Or is that LSU?
They do have a Canes.
They have a Canes. That's probably the best thing about their basketball arena. Like not what's on the court.
I will say the only bad thing about the basketball arena is the seats are all too close together. Like you have no leg room, which you might die.
That is
like
tough.
Your feet might fall off from blood loss.
I probably have to reserve like the seat in front of me and the seat behind me, and like the seat I'm sitting in. But like that's also not on the court.
No, but their arena is nice. I've been there for a women's basketball game where we went there and I think we probably had 6,000 States fans there and like 200 Ole Miss fans there. This was in our prime, so very different era.